right, we've got a treat for you today. Today's episode 105, I believe, of the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar. And Dr. Saunders is going to join us in just a second, but I wanted to do a quick intro. My name is Joe Barton with Barton Publishing and Barton Nutrition. And if you're watching this, we want to invite you to watch live next Thursday, this coming Thursday, at 11 a.m. Central Time. So we talk about the Diabetes Solution Kit, which is our #1 best-selling product that we've been selling online for 12 years now. This is the program that Dr. Saunders teaches, and hundreds of thousands of people literally have used this to lower their blood sugar and reverse their type 2. So also wanted to ask you, if you get value from this webinar, please hit the like button below and subscribe to our channel, and then you'll be notified of new videos when they come out. But it really helps our channel. We want to grow our mission of helping people reverse type 2. I feel like this has been super valuable, the webinar, for our customers, but also for our team and myself personally. I love to interact with our customers and hear their questions and their struggles, and then get Dr. Saunders to help them through those and to see the breakthroughs in people's lives. And so I'm excited for you to join us today. Would love for you to become a regular watcher of these webinars, and we have all of our webinars have been recorded and are on the YouTube channel for free. So just give us a like and subscribe to our channel if you would. But without further ado, let's get to today's Fixed Blood Sugar webinar. Recording, yay! All right, welcome everybody to the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar. I am your host, Joe Barton with Barton Publishing and Barton Nutrition, and we have Leslie manning the controls and co-hosting and taking all your questions. So that's what the purpose of this call is. It's to help you guys as you are walking through the Diabetes Solution Kit. Yay! So this is a 124-page manual that teaches people how to reverse type 2 using natural remedies, using food, using beverages or the lack thereof, using different supplements, and all sorts of different things. And so that's what this hour-long call is about today. Every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Time. If you're watching this recording on YouTube, you can join us live on Zoom. You just have to register. By doing that, you go to bartonwebinar.com, fill in the details, and you can join us. You can ask your own questions. And so, Dr. Scott Saunders, you are the star of the show. Well, most of the time. I don't know. Some people think Leslie's a star of the show. I've never been accused of that.
Yeah, many people have said Leslie's the star.
Yeah, I've never been accused of that myself. That's fine.
I'm the support staff. So as part of the support staff, we give information on this, or I do. No, everybody does. We give information for the purpose of general information so that you can understand what's going on. And some of it might apply to you and some of it might not apply to you. So for your specific situation, you should be working with somebody who can tell you if that's the right information for you, if it's something that applies to you. So don't take everything that we say here as gospel truth that's definitely for you. Just make sure you apply it properly. So today we're talking about diabetes type 2 in general. And what I wanted to distinguish was between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. We've had several questions recently about that, does this work for type 1 diabetes? And type 1 is an entirely different situation. It's different from type 2. Type 1 is the opposite in a sense. It's really unfortunate that we use the same name for these two kind of opposite metabolic illnesses. Why are they opposite? Well, because in type 1, it's a problem of not enough. You don't have enough. You don't have enough energy getting into your cells. You don't have enough protein getting into your cells. You don't have enough. Your pancreas doesn't make enough insulin, and usually makes no insulin at all. So if your pancreas is not making insulin, then that hormone insulin is so important. It is required to get energy and protein into your cells. What do your cells do? Well, you know, the cells are doing their stuff, and the cells are doing what they're doing. Your liver cells have to detox the body from everything and make a lot of stuff, proteins and stuff. And your kidneys have to filter things out, and your spleen has to filter things out, and your heart has to be able to pump. What is making all that happen? Well, energy. And the energy comes from sugar. But if you can't get sugar into the cells because there's no insulin, then the whole thing shuts down. Well, not your heart, because your heart doesn't require insulin. And your brain, by the way, doesn't require insulin. And your kidneys don't require insulin. But all of your muscle cells and fat cells and all the other 100 trillion cells in your body require insulin to get both the sugar and the protein, the amino acids, into your cells. Now, that's an interesting thing. So what is type 1? Why is that such a problem? Because it's like, well, you know, less insulin, then you can't get insulin resistance, right? And then that's pretty cool. You lose weight easily. Yeah, but it's losing weight from malnutrition. It's because your cells are dying. And so you're shrinking up. So what do people with type 1 die of? Well, they used to before they could inject insulin. People with type 1 diabetes died of malnutrition. They just wasted away and died because they couldn't get energy into their cells. So they got the cells are using up the proteins they have, and they can't get any more protein in. So they use it all. They use up all the sugar in their cells, and they can't get any sugar in. So they just get less and less and less and less until they waste away and die. And so type 1 is a really bad illness, and it's very important that people who have type 1 use insulin. So it's important when you're reading this, when you're looking at the difference in your book, you see the word diabetes. You have to distinguish, is this type 1 or type 2? Because that's a very important distinction. Why? Because type 2 is exactly the opposite. It's too much. Your pancreas is putting out too much insulin. And because there's so much insulin and you're eating so much food and you're hungry all the time, and all of that food is filling up your cells, and your cells are getting toxic on insulin and toxic on amino acids. And our society, we're so beset by selling things that we always tell people, you need more of this. You don't have enough of this amino acid or that amino acid. And really that type 2 is the opposite of type 1. Type 1 is not enough. Type 2 is too much. So too much what? Too much insulin, too much glucagon, too much amino acids, too much protein, too much fat, too much carbohydrate. Like I often tell people when they have type 2, I diagnosed it. I say, yeah, we've done the test. You have insulin resistance. You have type 2 diabetes. And they go, oh my gosh, I have diabetes. What am I going to do? What do I need to do? And I said, that's easy. Don't eat too much. Stop taking in too much. Too much what? Well, there's only 3 things you need to avoid. Carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Those are the only 3 things you need to avoid. Other than that, that's a pretty easy way to look at it. So what we've done with with our program, we've looked at various ways of doing this. And I've tried a lot of ways over the years. I had people coming into my office, and 6 months, they would pay us like $5,000 for a 6-month program to cure their diabetes or to reverse their diabetes. And we've tried all different kinds of ways of doing it. And this is the most consistent, easy way to do it. It's not the only way. It's just a consistent, easy way for most people to do it. So why is that? Because a lot of the problem is with too much carbohydrate, because most of the insulin is made because of carbohydrate ingestion. So if you're taking in sugars and sweeteners, anything that tastes sweet, and sugars and starches, you're going to make more insulin, and that more insulin is part of the problem of the cells filling up too much and becoming insulin resistant. So to avoid the toxicity, the simplest way to do it is to take out the carbohydrates. That way you can still have a lot of fiber. And so don't think you can't have fiber. You can have all the broccoli you want. There's a whole list of foods in the book that are free foods, so you don't even have to count the carbohydrates in them. And that would be like celery and broccoli and cauliflower and lettuce and spinach and kale, all of those kind of things. Free foods. You can have as much as you want. Have another salad. You're hungry? Fine. Have another one. No problem. And that's not even counted. So it's not that you can't have any carbohydrates. It's that you're going to avoid the ones that turn into sugar in your saliva actually starts the starch turning into sugar. That's going to raise insulin. So the kinds of things that don't raise insulin, you can have all of that. That's not a problem. The vegetables and even the fruit that doesn't raise carbohydrate, like peppers and cucumbers and tomatoes. So they're the ones that don't have a lot of sugar in them. There's a lot of fruit you can have that is going to avoid the excess insulin production. And so that is how this system works, is primarily to get you to be more sensitive to the insulin, so you can use up all the excess sugar that's in your cells. So your cells go, oh, I need more sugar. And you're not taking in very much sugar. So you become more and more sensitive to the insulin, so that the cells could get more sugar into them. That also allows more protein to get in there, so that you have your cells work better, they function better, they make the proteins like they're supposed to. So everything works better when you're not toxic. So that's the way to look at type 2. So now you know the difference between type 1 and type 2. And so our primary role here is looking at type 2. Why? Because for every one person with type 1, there's 20 people with type 2. That's where essentially where it currently is. So that 20-to-1 ratio is why we're focusing primarily on type 2, because most of the people with diabetes have type 2. Now, if you have type 1, could you do this program? Absolutely. But don't think you're going to get off insulin. We have had some people with autoimmune insulin problems who have type 1 who are able to reverse the autoimmune process and actually reverse the diabetes type 1. So it's not impossible, but you'd have to work really closely with someone who knew what they were doing. It's not something that we can put into a book for general consumption, right? So the type 1, if you do this program, you will need less insulin. You will have more insulin sensitivity. You will avoid all of the complications of diabetes, like Alzheimer's disease, heart disease, kidney disease, and loss of fingers and toes. So yes, it will help you with type 1, but you have to work with somebody carefully to make sure you get right amounts of insulin and get your insulin levels down general. Does that make sense?
That makes good sense. Just good horse sense, really.
Do horses get diabetes?
I think it's interesting. You said it's 20-to-1 now. It used to be 10-to-1, right? 10% of diabetics were type 1, but it seems like so type 2 must just be continuing to, that's the real pandemic that we're dealing, right?
Yeah, and type 2 is increasing dramatically, and type 1 isn't increasing that much. So yeah, it's really huge.
Yeah. Can you talk about why type 2 diabetics struggle more with COVID?
Well, I can give theories, but I can't tell you why. I could talk about it, but these are just my ideas. So type 2, all of those issues that we're talking about of getting protein and sugar into the cells because of insulin resistance and the toxicity of type 2, part of that problem is those immune cells are having the same issue. So the immune system does not function as well as a system because of these metabolic problems that we're dealing with in type 2 diabetes. So it's likely that you're going to have more issues with COVID. So in essence, one way to look at it, I was a microbiologist before I went to medical school. And so we learned about coronavirus 30 years ago. I learned 40 years ago. I studied all this stuff. So coronavirus is a cold, and it's been around for millions of years or whatever, thousands of whatever. Nobody dies of the coronavirus, or almost nobody dies of the virus. Really, what you die from is the immune reaction to the virus. So people, they get the virus, they have it for a week or two like normal, and by the second week, their immune system starts dysfunction. You have this hyperimmune response, too much immune response to the virus. The virus is gone, and the immune system keeps going and gets worse and worse, and the lungs fill up with fluid, and people are dying after the virus is already gone. So it's not dying of the virus specifically, it's really dying of an immune reaction to the virus, a hyperimmune response. It's called cytokine storm, which can happen more when people have these immune dysfunctions, and diabetes can contribute to that. So that's why.
Okay, good to know.
That's the long answer to a complicated problem.
Yeah. Well, regardless, there's lots of reasons why one would want to get rid of their type 2 diabetes and put it in remission, as we like to say. So yes, that's one of them. Yeah. But just, I mean, overall health and how you feel, the energy levels that you have, mobility, pain relief, all those things are connected. And so going on the phase 1 of the Diabetes Solution Kit, like, this is a game changer. This is the game plan, and it's a game changer. So yeah, so let's talk about what are the basics. You talked a little bit about, reducing either carbs, fat, or protein, or all three. So what are the basics? How does someone who's brand new to this program, how do they get started?
Okay, the simple way to look at it is you're going to eat, you're going to restrict your carbohydrate intake to 20 grams a day. And 20 grams is not very much. It's a slice of bread, or depending on the bread, maybe up to 2 slices of bread. It's about 1 apple, a little more than 1 apple. It's a very small amount of carbohydrates. So that's all you get for the whole day. And that means if you eat like 1 apple, then you get nothing else for the rest of the day. What can you have? Well, you have all the free foods. You can have all the broccoli you want. You can have all the cucumbers and spinach and celery. And so you could chop up and make a chopped salad. It's not that you can't have anything else. It's that's your limit for your carbohydrate intake. What else can you have? Meat? Yeah, have meat, fish. But remember, proteins also increase the insulin somewhat too, not as much as carbs, but somewhat. And some people are really sensitive to proteins increasing the insulin production. So you may want to limit the proteins and have a very high fiber diet. And the high fiber means you take in the free foods, all you want essentially, and then you can have some meat. So you can have like if you're going to have salmon, have a salmon salad, or chicken salad. I mean, you have a few strips of chicken on your salad and not make it a whole big steak. Just have some slices of steak on your salad, kind of thing. That has worked really well for me. And so what you're doing in type 1 or in phase 1 is limiting those carbohydrates. And we have a whole bunch of recipes and meals that you can look at. That's why the book is helpful, because you got a lot of people, when I tell them, okay, limit your carbohydrates to 20 grams. What does that mean? How do you even know what to do? So that's what the book is for. It gives you all the information. It says, okay, so this has this many carbohydrates. This has this many. Just count. And you know what? After a while, you get good at counting, and you go, oh yeah, that's 20. That's I can't have that. Well, that's only 5. I'll have that.
Yeah, there's some good recipes in here. Here's Leslie's famous cream cheese pancakes right there with 1.6 grams of net carbs. The ingredients are pretty simple: cream cheese, eggs, a little bit of stevia, and some cinnamon. So, boom. And you could probably put butter on top of that too, and maybe a couple berries.
And you don't even have to use the stevia.
Right. Just a few blueberries. So
yeah,
that's one good example. Yeah, no, that's good. We've got a couple dozen recipes in here. Dr. Scott, you've got a ceviche recipe in here.
Oh, I love ceviche. It's so easy to make too.
Oh yeah, half a cup of whitefish, small shrimp, crab meat, fresh lime juice, cucumber, tomato, yellow onion, green bell pepper, and cilantro. Boom. Yeah. And a little jalapeno if you want.
It's giving me some ideas. I got about half of those ingredients in the garden right now. So
ooh, just
nice.
add some cilantro and you'll be good.
I got cilantro in the garden.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good options in here, and it's kind of fun to pick a couple and try a few new things and realize like you can eat low carb and have it taste really good. So yeah.
We do have quite a few questions in here. So why don't we get started with those? Is that okay, you guys? We good with that? All right. So feel free to post your questions. We have a lot of people joining us on Facebook too. So if you want to ask Dr. Saunders questions, you can do that. All right, let's get right to it. John says, my right ankle is bruising and hurts when I walk. Is this caused by diabetes?
Bruising, not necessarily. Bruising is ruptured blood vessels, and that can happen from trauma. It can happen. Sometimes they just rupture randomly, but sometimes that's from a vein problem, especially if there's swelling around in the when it's really hot, especially the veins enlarge and they rupture more easily. But there is something called a Charcot joint, which is related to diabetes, and it is an inflammatory condition, and it does swell up joints, especially in ankles. So that is a possibility. So the bruising, I don't know, but if there's anything related to diabetes, it would be something that's called that Charcot joint, which is an inflammatory process that happens because there's not enough blood flow getting to it, and it doesn't repair. So it just creates this chronic inflammation that doesn't repair because you don't have good blood flow to the area. And so that's another good reason to use the Nervala. The Nervala supplement has the benfotiamine and alpha lipoic acid. Benfotiamine improves microcirculation, so it helps the repair process of the joints, and then the alpha lipoic acid in it helps repair the nerves. So those two would be helpful for that kind of thing.
Okay, we did have a question. Let's see. Deb had received Synachroma along with Nervala and turmeric for her husband. She's just wondering about the dosing of all of them, and can they be taken at the same time? Should she take them or he take them at breakfast?
Yeah, they can all be taken at breakfast. There's no interaction with them, and it's better to be taken with food. That's fine. The dosing of them is if you're just starting out and you have like a lot of insulin resistance, the Synachroma, and if you have neuropathy, the Synachroma and Nervala can be taken twice a day. So breakfast and whatever lunch or afternoon meal. That would be great. The turmeric you can also take twice a day. And then as things start getting better, you can go back to once a day for all of them. So that when you first start, you may want to use more to get the inflammation down, to get the insulin resistance down, to allow you to lose weight more easily. And then once things start improving, and don't think that the supplements are going to fix the problem, right? That these are helps to get inflammation down and improve insulin sensitivity so that you can, on the diet, lose weight and get your insulin sensitive from the diet. Because really, the diet is the thing, and the supplements are the support. Don't mix those up.
Okay, and bartonwebinar.com. You can sign up for this webinar for free. It's every week. You get to chat with Dr. Saunders, ask your questions. You can also find a link at bartonwebinar.com to all of our past webinars on YouTube. So be sure to do that if you haven't done that already. We do have a question from Gray Cook on Facebook. Neuropathy in toes or big toe and the next toe. It aches at night while I'm resting. He is a type 2 diabetic. Any advice?
Oh, yes. Okay. Number one, circulation is the most important. You've got to get your blood flowing. So exercise is going to be important. Make sure you get magnesium. If you have magnesium spray, put it on your feet, spray it on your feet, and just rub it in and let it soak in and let it be there. Because magnesium is actually the only muscle relaxant that works on the muscle, that actually relaxes the muscle itself. So muscles, when they contract, it's because of calcium. Calcium goes into the muscle and contracts the muscle. And then there's a pump there. In order to relax the muscle, it has to pump magnesium in, and the calcium goes out so that it allows relaxation of the muscle. So that process, so magnesium is something that's important to relax those smooth muscles that are in the arteries that allow the blood flow to work. So if it's bothering you at night, and partly because of the blood flow, then the nerves don't work well. So Nervala would be a very good thing to take, and I would take it twice a day because the benfotiamine in there repairs the lining of the small blood vessels and allows better blood flow to your peripheral system, which is why your toes get it first, because that's the farthest distance that the blood has to travel. So get the blood flow working, exercise, magnesium, Nervala, and then control the blood sugar. Get on the diet, the Diabetes Solution Kit, and start that phase 1. And that is the best way to do it.
All right. Great question here from Jim. Can we cover the pros and cons to periodic fasting and keto dieting for type 2 diabetics like myself?
Okay. Wow, that's a big question. That could be a whole webinar, but let me just go through the basics. So there's two things were asked. One was about keto and the other one is about fasting. So I've done a lot of research with fasting, and pretty much there isn't anything that fasting doesn't improve. Fasting is the time when we are anabolic and we're rebuilding our body. So the word fasting means your stomach is empty. That's what it means. So people who say you can do a juice fast, well, if you're drinking juice, the time you're drinking juice is not fasting. You can do a broth fast, right? You can do all these fasts, these modified fasts. And all that means is you're eating or drinking things that go through your stomach quickly so that your stomach empties quickly and your stomach's empty again. But it's really all about the empty, not about the fasting. So there have been some misguided people who put in a fasting kit where you can buy for like $250. You can get this 5-day fasting kit where they give you this drink you can drink with the sweetener in it. I think it's anyway, I don't remember. It's anyway, it's an artificial sweetener. And then it has some soups in it and some other things and these little bars, and you can just be snacking on foods all day long. Well, that misses the point. The point is the stomach has to be empty. So then how are you going to do that fast? Well, the longer you fast, the more your stomach is empty, the better. So it can look any way you want. I've done 7-day water fasts. I've done, mostly I do about 3 days. I do at least 1 day a month of a full 24 hours. And then you can do intermittent fasting where you just skip dinner. Now, the intermittent fasting is a problem if you skip breakfast and eat dinner, because the most important time to have an empty stomach is at night when you go to bed. That's how you make your body anabolic. That's how you repair and rebuild and fix everything in your body. It happens at night, but only if your stomach's empty. If you're eating, then you're catabolic. And catabolic is when you're breaking down your body. So that's the important thing about intermittent fasting, is that you move that time window of eating, and ideally it should be about 5 hours. You move it to like 7 o'clock in the morning, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 7 and noon, there you go. That's your whole day of eating. You get 2 meals a day, 7 and noon. And so when research has been done on this, that's what they found was stopping eating at 6 was good. Stopping eating at 3 was better. Stopping eating at noon was even better. However that looks, the best way to do that is to eat breakfast and lunch and skip dinner. And that's great for intermittent fasting, and it works well, and you will improve. If you've broken down your body for a long period of time and you want to get anabolic and rebuild your body for a long period of time, then you do a long-term fast. And so they used to do, Dr. Christopher used to advocate a 30-day cleanse once a year or two. And a 30-day cleanse was, he had a little lemonade. They call it the master cleanse. And it's because it goes through your stomach quickly, and it's lemon juice with a couple of tablespoons of maple syrup and then some cayenne pepper. And you put that in a quart of water, and then people would just drink that, a few times a day for 30 days. And you tend to lose about 1 pound a day. So you expect to lose about 30 pounds during that time. But while you're burning up the fats, you're making ketones that your brain can use. And it's a low octane fuel for your brain. So all the inflammation goes away in your brain. You clean that out. You clean your arteries out of all the cholesterol. Everything that's good in your body happens during the time that your stomach is empty. So that's the fasting part. Now, the ketogenic diet. Well, guess what? Phase 1 of our diabetes reversal kit, diabetes solution kit, phase 1 is the ketogenic diet. That's what it is. And so that's why you're only getting 20 grams of carbohydrates. And that works really well to reverse the insulin resistance, because you don't produce nearly as much insulin when you're eating the fiber foods and fatty foods.
Today's Fixed Blood Sugar webinar is sponsored by Synachroma, our best-selling advanced blood sugar support formula. Now, thousands of people around the world are taking Synachroma every day as part of their program to fix their blood sugar, using natural ingredients that simply work. Now, Dr. Saunders formulated Synachroma to meet key nutritional deficiencies that most people have unknowingly suffered from for far too long. With Synachroma, you get a blend of 6 key ingredients: the perfect combination of chromium, vitamin D3, and vitamin K2, which it's important to take those 2 together, selenium, vanadium, and our 10-to-1 cinnamon bark extract. Now, if you're not already using Synachroma, I highly recommend that you give it a try and see how it helps your energy, your weight, and your blood sugar numbers. You can get Synachroma at BartonNutrition.com or on Amazon. If you get it at BartonNutrition.com, you can enter the coupon code
webinar 25 and you'll save 25% off at bartonnutrition.com. But I realize some people like to go to Amazon as well. So anyways, Synachroma, highly recommend. Now let's get you back to the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar.
All right. This is good, but I think we need to do a webinar again on fasting. It's been a while since we've done it. So we'll do that.
Okay.
I always hate it when Dr. Saunders tells me to fast. And then I get so angry that I text him every day and say, can I just be done? Can I be done?
I hate it when I tell me to fast.
It's so good though. I mean, honestly,
I know, it is so good.
My own personal, I was dealing with a flare of like colitis, and fasting just helped. And I hated that it helped. Just wanted you to tell me to take a pill, but you know, that's not how you work. So I guess I appreciate that, but okay. Anyway, so many good questions here, guys. Okay. Someone is asking about, oh no, I lost it. Oh, yeah, well, this is interesting because I was just talking about colitis. So someone said, I'm 57. I just went in for a colonoscopy. Okay. This has nothing to do with colitis, but I have done a few colonoscopies in my life, and it showed a mildly enlarged prostate. I was thinking about taking saw palmetto for this. What do you think? Or can you think of a better natural remedy?
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of remedies out there for enlarged prostate. So the number one thing is to have enough zinc. Zinc is a very common deficiency in men, especially in the United States, because we don't do whole grains very often. We have processed grains. And so we just, anyway, it's a common deficiency. So men should be taking zinc. That would be a good supplement for all men to take to prevent prostate enlargement. And then also to have enough lycopene. Lycopene is the red color in tomatoes. So if you're having tomato sauce, does that mean I can have ketchup? Well, not if you're on phase 1. Because that's a lot of carbohydrates. There's a lot of sugar in ketchup, but you know, spaghetti sauce on sauce on, not on spaghetti, but you can put it on. I usually use spaghetti squash. That's really good, or sometimes meat. Anyway, so getting enough lycopene, getting enough zinc. And I think that, and then saw palmetto is actually really good. The studies have been done on that, and that's a great one to use. And often it'll come with other things like pygeum and a pumpkin seed extract or pumpkin seed oil. And so if you get a formula that has the saw palmetto with the other things, the prostate formula, often those are really good. But you can assess it. You can say, gee, you know, I'm urinating a lot better since I've been taking this supplement. If not, then try a different one.
Okay, Robert is asking, what is glimepiride, the pros and cons? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, glimepiride.
Glimepiride
is a sulfonylurea medication. And what that does is it tricks the pancreas into putting out more insulin than it normally would. And so I hate those. I take people off those all the time. That's my personal opinion. Your doctor may be different. But the reason is because the problem with type 2 is what we went over today. You have type 1 and type 2. And the problem with type 2 is too much. And guess what these medications do? They cause you to make more insulin. And more insulin just makes you more insulin resistant ultimately. So so it's like you get this immediate benefit of dropping your blood sugar, but the long-term risks I don't think are worth it.
All right. Does drinking alkaline water interfere with your medication if taken together?
Oh, that's interesting. It should not. The alkaline water is not anyway, no, it should not. There are some, I'm trying to think of any medications that require a lot of stomach acid, because the alkaline water will decrease the acidity of the stomach somewhat. But I don't think any of them, even like Prilosec requires Well, that requires more stomach acid, right? So some medications maybe, but I don't know of any diabetes medications that would be affected by that.
Okay. We do have a question from the Joe Barton. So let's bring him on.
Me. Hello. Okay, this is a question for our guests, the people attending right now. So I have been tasked with creating a new product that was an idea I had, and it's basically a checklist, basically taking like all the things in the Diabetes Solution Kit, all the things Dr. Saunders teaches, like what should we do every day, and how can we boil it down into like a checklist of 10 to 12 things. And I want to know from you guys, what format, well, first of all, would a checklist like that be something that you would find valuable and use? For example,
I would.
Yeah. So for example, imagine you got sticky notes and on the sticky notes, there's, 10 to 12 different things on the checklist. For example, eat 20 to 40 grams of carbs per day, drink 12 glasses of water, stop eating by 6 p.m., go to sleep on an empty stomach by 10 p.m., take your supplements, measure your blood sugar, watch a webinar episode, visit our Facebook page and post an update or something, and get your exercise. So those would be like 8 or 9 different things on there. You could have it. We could have it on a handy dandy sticky note thing. You can go throughout the day and check it off.
We could have an app. An app you can put on your phone that just has your checklist and it's started there.
I looked into an app. And it was going to cost at least $25,000 to create. And so I'm thinking,
gosh.
Yeah. And like, I personally like having the physical paper. I mean, apps are fine too, but it'd be a lot more economical for, to create a paper. And actually, like, I think I want to start on paper and then, try it for a while and then maybe make an app later if it helps people a lot. So, but before doing that, so anyways, there's another thing, like this is a checklist that like you can tear off. It's a daily thing. You can just tear it off and chuck it when you're done, which would be bigger, and like we could do all sorts of sizes, half of this size. So I would love to get feedback on that, and if you would use it and what format or what size that you think would be best. So
I would. I love checklists and something like a sticky note thing, just tear a little one. I like that idea actually.
Yeah. You could even do it like a doctor's prescription, like
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool. Make it look like a prescription, but it's your own checklist. So yeah. Well, put them in the chat if you have ideas on that. Would love to hear your feedback. So okay, back to our normal regularly scheduled broadcast. Thank you.
All right. Back to questions here. Meg, hello, Meg. Meg is asking, do you find that wound healing is slower in diabetics? And what suggestions do you have for wound care?
Oh, that's so good. Okay, so I'm medical director of a nursing home where we take care of a lot of wound care. We have a wound care nurse 24 hours a day. And so we do a lot of this kind of stuff. So I have a lot to say about it. We could do a whole webinar on that too. But the basics is, yes, it takes longer to heal a wound when you have diabetes. But the reason is not because of the blood sugars high. The reason is because of the poor blood flow. You don't get good blood flow into the wound. And it's not the big blood vessels. You can measure your pulse and go, oh, my pulse is fine, no problem. That's not the thing. It's not the big blood vessels. It's the little teeny ones that have like ratty inside and they shrink down. And that's where the problem lies. So having a pulse doesn't mean you have good blood flow into the business end of where that blood needs to get to. because it can just completely bypass that and go through your macro circulation and miss the microcirculation. And that's really important. So the key to that, if you know that, then you go, oh, so what I need to do is increase blood flow. How do you do that? Well, that's one of the things Nervala is supposed to help with if you have diabetes. So you can take Nervala every day. I give in the nursing home, I give people Nervala, I give them vitamin D, I give them vitamin C and zinc, because all of those things help healing for different reasons. So the supplements are going to be really helpful. And then there's light therapy, and you can get these lights now that you can either wrap around or they're like red lights. They're LEDs. They're red lights, and they penetrate through into the skin and turn on the mitochondria to increase the energy production to speed healing, and that actually works. And then I use something called Manuka honey, and all of my patients in the nursing home, they get honey, and they have diabetes, and they're putting this sugar, and they're going, and they're, what the heck? You're putting sugar in, like they fill the wound with diabetes and put one of those plastic dressings over it, and then tape it around it and leave it for a whole week and don't even touch it for a week. Well, the Manuka honey has some substances in it that speed healing, prevent infection, and part of the way they prevent infection is by lowering inflammation, but without decreasing healing. So ibuprofen, Aleve, some of these non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, they decrease inflammation and get rid of the pain, but they also slow down healing because they prevent the cyclooxygenase, the enzymes that cause the inflammation also initiate the healing process, whereas the Manuka honey doesn't do that. It actually improves the healing process at the same time decreasing inflammation and decreasing infection. So those are things that you can do for wounds, and it really works. That's like open wounds and stuff. For closed wounds, you just want to increase the circulation. You can do that with the light and Nervala and exercise. Magnesium also dilates the blood vessels and helps blood flow.
All right. Question from Mike. I want to ask advice about taking turmeric as directed and getting massive nosebleeds. It works like a charm to reduce sugar numbers on my meter, but nosebleed issues. Please advise.
That is really interesting. Yes. Many of these anti-inflammatories will increase nosebleeds. So if you look at all the stuff you're taking that can cause nosebleeds, and it's not that they cause your nose to bleed, it's that the blood vessels rupture in your nose pretty easily because there's no skin protecting them. But it doesn't stop bleeding very fast when you have anti-inflammatories, certain ones. Turmeric is a big one. Omega-3 oils. So if you're taking turmeric and omega-3 oils and vitamin E, then those will work together to increase your blood flow. And then you add an aspirin on top of that. That'll make it where that'll prevent clotting. So then it won't stop bleeding. It'll just keep bleeding and bleeding and bleeding because there isn't any mechanism to clot the blood and stop the bleeding because of all these anti-inflammatories. So turmeric is one offender. And I don't know what to tell you to do besides stop using turmeric or look at other things. If you're taking aspirin, you can take the aspirin out and take the turmeric. If you're using vitamin E, use a small dose once a week of vitamin E. If you're doing omega-3 oils, you can also use smaller doses of that or take the turmeric periodically. But yeah, those are all the things that will prevent clotting. And when you get a nosebleed, it just won't stop easily.
Mary is asking, what are the best fruits to eat if you are a type 2 diabetic?
Cucumber, tomato, peppers, Squash is okay. You got to count the carbs if you're doing squash. Those are the best fruits. So things that aren't sweet. The ones to avoid are tropical fruits, and the ones to eat are the garden, the ones we call the fruits that we call vegetables. Those are the best ones.
All right. Let's see. Shanda, my BSL increases when I exercises, so my blood sugar levels. Is that normal or something I want to help reverse?
That's normal. That's normal. What's happening usually with exercise is your liver starts putting out extra sugar because your muscles are saying, hey, you know, I need energy here. And so it's a normal reaction for people to have. They make something called glucagon that tells the liver to make sugar. And that's actually a good thing because that helps clean the liver, clean the glycogen out of the liver. Remember, type 2 is too much. That helps get it out. So even if the blood sugar goes up, that's okay.
Gavin is asking, what is the best way to manage type 2 diabetes and high cholesterol from a food intake perspective?
Oh, okay, that's easy. Okay, because, and this is a good question, because like when you do the Diabetes Solution Kit and you're looking at, gosh, I can have those cream cheese pancakes, you know, and I can have my a bacon, sausage, cheese omelet with cream in the morning, you know, pure cream drinking it. And so, you know, a lot of fat and protein, which does not help your cholesterol issues at all. So the way to look at that is to avoid all of those kinds of things. You know, when you have an egg, have one egg, you know, have a small amount. But with every meal, have a lot of fiber. So the fiber will help lower the absorption of food so that you don't get excessive amounts, like you don't release as much insulin. So the fiber is really important for that. But the other thing it does is binds to the bile acids in your intestines and prevents the reabsorption of them, so that it drops your cholesterol down. So a high fiber diet is the way to handle both of those. It's great. It's a good idea.
All right. Let's see. Question from Meg. What would be the rationale for my husband's physician keeping him on metformin, but returning him to glipizide? Because he saw the numbers were going up overnight recently, and then adjusting to then putting him on Jardiance when it had been going down low in the beginning on Barton. However, in returning him to glipizide, he did not remove the Jardiance either. So now he's on 3 diabetes medications, even though I'm trying to keep him on your program. It seems like a lot and will help knowing his blood sugar numbers for next week. He's compliant about 75+% of the time.
Yeah. Okay. So the question was, why would the doctor do that? And because the focus is different. So our focus is not on blood sugar. We use the blood sugar as sort of like when you're doing a diet, you can use your weight as a measurement, a device measurement, but not as the goal. The goal for us is to not have diabetes, is to not have insulin resistance. And we use blood sugar as just one way of monitoring that. Whereas when you go to your doctor's goal is completely different. The doctor's goal is to keep the blood sugar low. And so whatever it takes to keep the blood sugar low, which means more medications, right? Because if you use that glipizide, the glipizide is going to trick your pancreas into making extra insulin, and that higher insulin level is going to cause the blood sugar to get lower. And so the next step is to add insulin, right? So you're injecting insulin. Why would they add insulin? Well, because the focus is just to get the blood sugar lower. So how can I get the blood sugar lower? and they're not looking at what the long-term effects of that, causing more insulin resistance and more problems with amputations and kidney disease, dialysis, heart disease, and Alzheimer's disease, because that's the result of keeping the blood sugar lower without looking at insulin resistance, because insulin resistance is actually the problem there. So, your question is the rationale. The rationale is the focus on blood sugar. So, I would like you to look at it differently. Instead of that, look at how can we lower insulin resistance? And the primary thing is the diet. So by getting on that phase 1, and instead of being 75% compliant, be 100% compliant, and get your blood sugar, your eating sugar down to 20 grams or less of carbohydrates, then the blood sugar will naturally go down. You get more insulin sensitive, and then you won't need the medications. Your blood sugar will be low, and then your doctor's focus will be perfectly fine. Everything will be fine, and the doctor will say, "Oh, good, your blood sugar's normal. You don't need that medication anymore."
Okay, we're running out of time, and there's so many questions. Let's see. I saw a question from Tony. What dosage of zinc do you suggest for enlarged prostate?
Be careful with zinc. Zinc should be taken more on an intermittent basis, like every other day or twice a week. And in that case, you would take between 50 and 100 milligrams a couple of times a week. And that would give you plenty. Take it with food. Zinc tends to cause stomach irritation. And if you take it every day, then you will inhibit the absorption of copper, and it'll mess up your copper to zinc ratio, which will mess up your brain over time. So it's important to keep that copper to zinc ratio. Unless you have too much copper, then you take zinc every day to balance that. So, but yeah, zinc will inhibit copper. So just take it on an intermittent basis between 50 and 100 milligrams. Yeah.
Okay. Janda's asking, how long can you take the Synachroma?
Well, I take Synachroma. You can take Synachroma as long as you want. It has 5,000 units of vitamin D. It's got the right amounts of the things that are not generally found in the American diet. So because of that, it's something that if you take one a day, you will have enough of all of those things. So like selenium and chromium and vanadium and vitamin D and vitamin K. Well, you're going to take those anyway, right? Those are the things that are not generally found in the diet, and most Americans are deficient in anyway. So if you took one a day, that would be a decent one a day vitamin for somebody who tends to have insulin resistance problems anyway.
Today's Fixed Blood Sugar webinar is sponsored by Synachroma, our best-selling advanced blood sugar support formula. Now, thousands of people around the world are taking Synachroma every day as part of their program to fix their blood sugar using natural ingredients that simply work. Now, Dr. Saunders formulated Synachroma to meet key nutritional deficiencies that most people have unknowingly suffered from for far too long. With Synachroma, you get a blend of 6 key ingredients. The perfect combination of chromium, vitamin D3, and vitamin K2, which it's important to take those two together, selenium, vanadium, and our 10-to-1 cinnamon bark extract. Now, if you're not already using Synachroma, I highly recommend that you give it a try and see how it helps your energy, your weight, and your blood sugar numbers. You can get Synachroma at BartonNutrition.com or on Amazon. If you get it at BartonNutrition.com, you can enter the coupon code webinar25 and you'll save 25% off at BartonNutrition.com. But I realize some people like to go to Amazon as well. So anyways, Synachroma, highly recommend. Now let's get you back to the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar.
Okay, our time is up with Dr. Saunders. Again, thank you so much. Such good questions, such good answers. We appreciate you so much. So he's got to go back and be with his patients.
All right. See you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. And just a reminder, if we didn't get to your question today, we've got over 100 recorded episodes in our YouTube channel. So check us out on YouTube. I think it's called Barton Webinars, but you can find it by going to bartonwebinar.com. And man, there's all sorts of good stuff in there. And part of the checklist idea, like that's going to be on there, like watch an episode of our webinar every day. Continue to educate yourself and learn from Dr. Saunders and be reminded and encouraged of the healthy things that you can be doing. So check that out. Also, we didn't really talk about supplements today, but Barton Nutrition, we have come up with several different supplements, nutritional formulas by Dr. Saunders that are really good for blood sugar and your gut and all sorts of different things. So if you go to bartonnutrition.com, we have a 25% off coupon that you can use because you are a webinar watcher. So it is, the coupon code is webinar25, and that'll save you 25% off your entire order. So yeah, good stuff. Are there any questions on here that we could maybe try to get to ourselves that doesn't require Dr. Saunders?
Let's see. No, there's some good questions on here though that will be fun to ask him.
Yeah. What do you think next week? Talk more about fasting?
It is coming up quite a bit, so I think that would be a really good topic for us.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that would be good.
Okay. We do have another one already recorded in the past if you find it on YouTube. So if we don't do that next week, you can go find it right now. Another idea was talking about wound care. I don't know why I can't say the word wound very well. Wound.
You're saying it right.
I know, it just sounds weird coming out of my mouth, but but let's see. Yeah, lots of good questions. Thanks for everyone hopping on, and let's see. Yeah, I would say most of these questions are going to be answered in other webinars as well, but hop on next week, get your question in early, ask it again. Dr. Saunders will be happy to do what he can to answer that as well live on the webinar to help everybody else that's watching as well. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, this is good. Again, bartonwebinar.com, head there. You will find a link to all the things that you could possibly need. So send your friends there. If you know someone who could really benefit from this webinar, please direct them to that site, because this, it's our mission to try to help as many people as possible. And, it's not every day that you get to ask an actual MD these questions. And he's not just an MD. He's all the things. Like he's really good at what he does. He researches a lot, and he's helped so many people with their type 2 diabetes. So we want to make sure that we get this out to as many people as possible. So thank you guys for being here, for all of your great questions. We have so many of you that come back week after week, and you're still learning stuff just like us. And so thank you for doing that. And we love hearing about your journey. So keep us posted on that as well.
Yes, very good. Okay. Well, thanks, Leslie. You did an awesome job as usual. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Have a great, blessed day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.